We had not one, but two thrillers on the local gridiron last night. First, let's talk about the game you heard or watched right here on KYCA, Prescott versus Northwest Christian, a rematch of a contest that we named our number 2 local game of the year from the season prior. And this one, well, it lived up to the hype. Prescott might have been surprised by the up-tempo play of the Crusaders on their first drive as they scored in like about 3 or 4 minutes. In fact, they moved so fast, I barely had time to write down stats on my score sheet. In fact, there were several times that the chain gang barely got set up when the Crusaders just went off on their play. But you know, Prescott, they adjusted to all that pretty well, and before you knew it, they were leading Northwest Christian, who the Arizona Republic actually had ranked number 3 in the 4A conference. But the Crusaders, they always kept pace, tying the score or just being one touchdown away from Prescott. Wasn't until late in the fourth quarter that Prescott finally put the game away, recovering a fumble on the 1-yard line, then driving 99 yards downfield for the score, then getting an interception when a pass bounced off the Crusaders' Landon Beckman and into the hands of a Badger defender, giving Prescott the 50-36 win last night. The MVP of the game? Probably the entire O-line of Prescott. Guys like Elijah Carr, Dante DeCourt, Bo Bryce, Blake Nightshades McGlory, Josiah Peanut Dykstra, just throwing their weight around all night long, opening up huge gaps for guys like Jacob Chamberlain and Braylon Johnson. Chambo with about 220-plus rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. Braylon Johnson, more than 160 rushing yards, had a couple of touchdowns. James Heffron, man, oh man, sophomore quarterback, taking over for the injured Gio Puglisi, looking so poised against one of the top teams in the 4A conference. He threw 2 touchdown passes to Kenny Miller-Terry, and on one of them, no kidding, KMT, he had his defender beat by about 8 or 9 yards when he made that catch in the end zone. Kingston Douthit had an interception. Just an impressive night overall for Prescott, a great win for them. And this is a team that had a lot of questions going into the season because of all the guys they graduated from last year's squad. And I think those questions have been answered. Also, last night, we had a great game over in Prescott Valley as Bradshaw Mountain took on another top team in the 4A conference, and that's the always tough Snowflake Lobos. Now, defense ruled the night on that one as both teams stayed close all night long. Bradshaw, they even had the lead over Snowflake for a while, but in the end, it was the Lobos who got the win over the Bears. Final score in that one, 16-13. Still A++ effort for Bradshaw Mountain, giving Snowflake a Final Four team from last year, all they could handle. Kylan Jackson had a touchdown. Not a rushing touchdown like he usually has. No, he had a touchdown pass to Desmond Tolbert. Titus Womble had a couple of field goals, and Antonio Valenzuela, he came up with an interception. We also had another thriller involving one of our local football teams, but this one took place on Thursday night. Chino Valley and Cortez going back and forth all night long. Then, in the final minute, Matthew Seibel nailed Maddox Brazier with a touchdown pass, giving the Cougars the 46-45 victory over the Colts. Seibel ended up with 5 touchdown throws on the night. Brazier had 3 touchdown catches. Levi Akins, also a couple of touchdowns. Chino, a program that's been struggling for like over a decade, now 3-1 on the season. The Mare football team, well, I'm not going to report on them because I can't, because they were off this week. So next week I can talk about Mare. So there you have it. 3 exciting games for our local teams this week, with wins going to Chino Valley and Prescott. And again, an addendum to the Prescott game, along with great play from the offensive line. Like I said, turnovers playing a huge role in that win, with Prescott, I don't know, I guess Prescott kind of channeling the Phillies, Karen, and going, "Excuse me, that's my ball. Give it to me." speaking of that nut job woman, it's been a week since that incident happened. And, Philly's Karen, she is still making the rounds on social media and in a deservedly negative way. But when I look at that video, I have a bit of a different take on it. Maybe a controversial one, but I'm going to give it anyway. Now, while the actions of the Phillies Karen are, of course, indefensible, the father of the kid she took the ball from, I'm sorry, I got to give him a fail on this one. You get some whack job woman throwing a tantrum at you, and you just take the ball from your son and give it to her? What's up with that? You know what you're showing your son? If someone gets in your face and yells at you long enough, just give her what she wants. Basically, let the bully win. The proper thing to do in that situation would be tell the Phillies Karen, hey, get the out of my face. And if she doesn't, you flag down security and you shout, hey, I need you guys over here, and bring a tranquilizer dart while you're at it. And if she makes a move on you, well, you take all necessary steps to protect your kid and yourself. That's how you handle that situation. And I know what some of you are saying. He was thinking about his kid. He had to keep him safe. And you would think differently if you had kids, John. Sorry, but I think that line of thought is Bravo Sierra, using military alphabet there. Now, why do I think that? Because it assumes that every single person who's a parent thinks the exact same way. And they don't, because I actually know some people who are parents who agree with me that the dad should have told the Karen to take a long walk off a short pier and not give her the ball. And, okay, here's a good example of kind of what I'm talking about. Let's say yours truly comes across a TikTok, and it's of some goofball mom who goes, I'm going to show you what I pack my little Timmy for lunch every day. Twinkies, Skittles, a jelly donut, and a 16-ounce bottle of Dr. Pepper. Now, do I really need to be a parent to say, Mom, you're being irresponsible, and giving your kid that kind of food every day is detrimental to his health? No, because you don't need a parent to have enough common sense to know that some things are right and some things are wrong. Now, as far as the Phillies Karen goes, as far as I'm concerned, she deserves all the online abuse she's getting. As I like to say, if you act like a jerk, you should be treated like a jerk. And it's also led to some just absolutely shiny memes. One of my favorite is someone took the Garbage Pail Kids cards from the 1980s and made one up for the Phillies Karen with her name, Ball Hog Karen. And then there's another one that, of course, me being me, I really, really love. And one of them had the Phillies Karen looking like Megatron from the Transformers and grabbing the Autobot matrix of leadership from the kid and going, I deserve this power. And seeing that, you know what? I wish someone would do like a cartoon short of her like that, and using that classic scene from the animated Transformers movie from the 1980s. My opinion, still the best Transformers movie ever. Where Unicron meets Megatron and he goes, I am Unicron. I have summoned you here. And the Phillies Karen / Megatron goes, excuse me? You do not summon me. I don't care if you eat entire planets. I want to see your manager now. That would be so cool. Anyway, folks, 541-1016, number to call here on the Tri-City Sports Roundup, 928-541-1016. Coming up to a break here, and we come back. We're talking badminton today. In fact, we've got members of the Prescott badminton team on the show today. Last year's Final Four team from last year. We've got Coach Bobby Yoder with me. Also, she brought in a couple of her players. We got Abby Daniels. We got Ari Jones here. So we're going to talk to them about the great start they're off to for their season, and of course, what lies ahead for the Lady Badgers. So we'll be back right after this. We are back here on the Tri-City Sports Roundup. John Rust with you here in the studio with me today. I have members of the Prescott badminton team with me. I've got Coach Bobby Yoder. I've got two of her players. I've got Abby Daniels, and I've got Ari Jones with us. Ladies, good morning, and thanks for joining us here on the show.
Thank you for having us.
All right. So, Coach, I'm going to start with you here. Once again, Prescott badminton off to a great start. You've won all your PowerPoint matches so far. In fact, you had a great one on Tuesday, beating Chaparral 6-3. That was the team that knocked you out of the Final Four last year. So, what are some of the reasons for Prescott once again off to a great start?
I think this year we definitely have a lot of returners from last year's team, and just overall, every year I'm just blessed with a great group of kids every year, and athletes and kids that are willing to put the effort in and improve their craft, and it shows in how they compete and how they treat the other teams and all of that, and so the results kind of speak for themselves.
So, Abby, after the first two matches you had, you swept Millennium to start off the season. Then you swept Cactus after that. Then you get to Chaparral. And, of course, as I said, this is the team that knocked you out of the Final Four last year. You got the 6-3 victory over them. Just what were some of the keys to getting that win Tuesday over a really good Chaparral team?
I think something that really helps us a lot is cheering each other on. I think just hearing the crowd. Considering it was a home game, we had a lot of people supporting us in the stands, and that's always such a good motivator in the games.
Mm-hmm. And Ari, you were number 6 singles in that one, and boy, oh boy, did you have one heck of a battle against Tess Shaw from Chaparral. Really close match, but you pulled it out 21-16, 21-16, the finals there. So talk about and that, of course, that was a really key victory there. So talk about what it took for you to get that win there and help your team ultimately get the victory.
I mean, I definitely agree with Abby. Having people I love being in the stands helps me a lot. And I definitely focused on just things Bobby told us, just focus on placement and moving the girls. And I think that was mainly in my head the whole time.
So, Abby, going into that match, I mean, I'm sure all you ladies who were there on the team last year kind of remember that match with Chaparral. I'm sure that left a bitter taste in your mouth. So just talk about how motivated you and the team were going into that match Tuesday with Chaparral.
I think we were very motivated. Chaparral is one of the games where we kind of really focus and try and do our best and be our best in that game. So I think just like having that experience with them like in the past is a really good motivator for us too.
So, Bobby, going into that match with Chaparral, what were some things going through your mind? What were some things you were telling the ladies to try to get the victory there over the Firebirds?
So the Chaparral is definitely kind of one of our rivalry games, if you will, and not the friendliest of rivalries, and not because of us. We try to make sure that we respect the game and play it the right way. But I feel like and I've really been trying to preach this a little extra this year, is just trying to make sure that we're focusing on our effort, and our attitude and our sportsmanship going into every match, not just Chaparral, but every match. And things have a way of falling into place, and we're not worrying about the things that we can't control, basically. Mm-hmm. So.
And I think one of the really impressive things with the victory there is, I mean, obviously a lot of attention is on the number 1 and number 2 players. With, Annabelle Courtney, she's number 1, Abby Daniels number 2. They actually lost their singles matches, but now I think we see why it's important to have some really strong players kind of in the bottom range of the starting lineup, because the number 3 to 6 singles are the ones who pulled out victories there, and some of them were pretty tightly contested matches too. Like I said, Ari had an incredible match there that she pulled out.
Yeah, so coming into this year, we knew, Addie Scott, their number 2 girl, and then their number 3 girl were good returners. They had the luxury of a foreign exchange student, a really good foreign exchange student coming into their program this year, and she ended up passing those 2 and is in the number 1 spot, deservedly. So we knew going in that their top 3 are definitely, going to be the toughest matches, but I thought Annabelle played her amazing it was just little adjustments. I think that's a girl she can hang with for sure. But I thought she played great, and she had a great attitude, throughout that. I thought Abby's match against Addie Scott was really a great match overall. That's one that could have easily gone either way. But for her, from where she was last year to this year, to be able to challenge her, I mean, that girl was genuinely a little worried in that match. And it just speaks to where Abby's at and, the fight these girls have. Because that could have easily gone either way. And Lucy's match in the 3, that was a great match too. Again, that's a returning kid. And there was a little bit of issue there. The coach decided she was going to say we were calling bad lines in it and wanted line judges in that one. And so I'm like, okay, you want a line judge? Well, you go do it, and I'll do this side. And it just kind of blew up in her face because it just got the crowd even more fired up, and just made it turned it into from a negative thing into a positive thing. And it just, that crowd was pretty loud and cheering those kids on, and she ends up winning that one easy, So I feel like it was a great top 3 matches, but I feel like the strength of our program the last few years has definitely been our entire program, our depth. In the last 11 years, I've probably had 2 or 3 years where I've had this many kids on varsity. We got 10 kids, and there's times where I wish we could play 10 singles and 5 doubles because I feel like there's no one in the state that could hang with us. We really would be the top team, but when you can only play so many kids each night, that definitely limits us a little bit. But again, the depth of our program is definitely one of our strengths and helps us pull out these tougher matches. So we'll definitely be relying on that the rest of the season.
Yeah, and of course another one to point out, another match to point out from Tuesday, the number 1 doubles match with Claire Long, Annabelle Courtney, because that was the one that clinched the team win for Prescott, and that was one that had to go to a 3rd set tiebreaker. And kind of funny because the first 2 sets were pretty even Steven there, and then the 3rd set, Claire and Annabelle just came out and they just rolled over the Chaparral duo.
Yeah, so the first set was a good start in almost kind of allowing them to kind of warm up into it. The second set, we really probably shouldn't have split. We had that one fairly easily, and we kind of let them come back a little bit. But then just making the adjustments and refocusing, and they come back and kind of seal it in the 3rd. So they did good, and they're a returning number 1 doubles team, and have a great opportunity to continue to build, and we'll see what they do at individual state.
Okay. And Abby, you look at that, you look at a match like that, and I mean, even the matches that Prescott lost there, still very competitive. So after a match like that against Chaparral, what kind of confidence does that give Prescott moving forward for the rest of the season?
I think it gives us a lot of confidence. It was a really good match, and we were all really focused, and I think that focus that we felt there is really going to help us in the rest of the season.
And Ari, what about yourself? What did you take away from that win that you guys got on Tuesday against the Firebirds?
Sorry. I think just the amount of focus that we have, I feel like we shouldn't just channel that to Chaparral. I think that after playing them, we can see how much we can really do all together as a team with our focus and our motivation, and just really just really being focused on the game.
Okay. All right, folks. Well, in the studio with me today, I've got Coach Bobby Yoder from the Prescott badminton team, along with 2 of her players. I got Abby Daniels and I got Ari Jones here. So we're going to talk more about this wildly successful Prescott badminton team on the other side of the break. But before we go to break, as always, it's time to see who shined over the past 7 days as we present the Tri-City Sports Roundup 3 Stars of the Week. Starting with the ladies, our number 3 star is Valeria Sotelo of the Chino Valley soccer team. She registered 3 goals and an assist in the Lady Cougars' 9-0 rout of Holbrook Monday. The number 2 star is Caitlin Roscoff of the Embry-Riddle women's soccer team, who also used to play for the Chino Valley girls soccer team. She had a hat trick in the Lady Eagles' 12-1 obliteration of Justice University Wednesday. And our number one star of the week is Jezebel Rivas of the Yavapai College volleyball team. She recorded 69 digs in 4 matches at the Yavapai College tournament last weekend. Then on Monday, she was named the Conference Defensive Player of the Week. Now for the guys. Our number 3 star is Kylan Jackson of the Bradshaw Mountain football team. He rushed for 202 yards and 4 touchdowns in the Bears' 54-8 rout of Independence last Friday. The number 2 star is Maddox Brazier of the Chino Valley football team. He had 3 touchdown catches, including the game-winning one in the Cougars' 46-45 triumph over Cortez Thursday. And our number 1 star of the week is Matt Seibel of the Chino Valley football team. He threw 5 touchdown passes in the Cougars' 46-45 win over Cortez on Thursday. Congratulations to all our 3 stars of the week. Break time here on the Tri-City Sports Roundup. We'll be back right after this. We are back here on the Tri-City Sports Roundup. John Rust with you here in the studio with me today. I have Coach Bobby Yoder from the Prescott badminton team, along with players Abby Daniels and Ari Jones. And just how good has the Prescott badminton team been? I kind of probably say it's probably the best team in the Tri-City area you've never heard of. Well, if you listen to KYCA, of course, you know about them because we report on them like we do all the teams around here. But how about this? Going back to 2020, Prescott, they were in the Final Four that year. 2021, state runner-up finish. 2022, team state runner-up finish. Megan Townsend, individual state runner-up. Riley Crockett and Al Long, doubles state runner-up. 2023, state runner-up. Individually, Riley Crockett, state champion. And last year, Final Four appearance. So, Bobby, that's a pretty darn good track record there of success for Prescott badminton.
Yeah, and I don't know that I can take really any credit for that. It's just a great group of girls every year that put the work in and are coachable, and are just athletes, and they pick it up quick. And it really is impressive in the fact that, like, we're the only Northern Arizona badminton team, and everyone in Phoenix pretty much has access to badminton year round. With the Arizona Badminton Center and Sunset Badminton, where they can go train, and a lot of the elite teams and teams that are in the postseason are taking advantage of that year round. And so the fact that these girls can come in, 3 or 4 months out of the year, and still compete at that level, it just speaks to the athleticism and the work ethic, and just of the kids that come through this program.
Yeah. So Abby, when you look at all the success that Prescott badminton has had over the years, I mean, especially this decade so far, how much pressure or motivation does that put on you ladies to say, hey, this is a great program we have here, and we got to do our part to maintain that success?
I mean, there's a little bit of pressure, but I think most of it is motivation to be as good as the girls that came before, and to kind of keep up the reputation of having a good team and working hard.
And Ari, you're a senior, so do you kind of take it on yourself for like the freshmen, sophomores coming up saying, hey, look at the history of this team, and this is what you guys got to do in order to make sure that this team continues to be as successful as it has been?
I think so. I think for myself, just having played with the people before me, like Megan and Riley and all of them, it definitely helped me get better. So I think hopefully the freshmen and sophomores playing with us will help them get better as well.
Okay. And again, as I said, badminton, of course, it's one of those sports that, doesn't get, say, the massive amount of press that football, baseball, volleyball, basketball gets. So Abby, as you're walking through the halls of Prescott and say you're wearing your school jacket and everything, and you have the badminton logo on there, do people come up and go, we have a badminton team at Prescott and you're actually on it?
It definitely happened a lot my freshman and sophomore year, like when I was first starting badminton. And I honestly didn't even really know there was a badminton team until I was going into high school. So I think it's definitely not one of the better known sports, but I think with just kind of what we've been doing with the team, I think it's become more recognizable.
Ari, what about you? In the same boat where your friends go, you're on a badminton team? We actually have one here?
Yeah, pretty much. And pretty much anyone, like even my own family, they're like, you play badminton? I'm like, yeah, I do.
Well, now I have to ask the question. And since there really isn't, like, say, a pipeline for badminton going into high school like you would have, say, with basketball or volleyball, Abby, how did you come to be on the Prescott badminton team?
One of my friends actually learned about the badminton team, and she talked to me about going to the open gyms. And so I started going to those open gyms kind of in the spring of my 8th grade year, and that's kind of how I got into it.
Ari, what about you? How did you fall into badminton?
Well, it was actually Abby. She told me there's badminton at the high school, and I was like, really? I don't really know what that is. So she took me to one, and then I really liked it. So
it sounds like one of those things like, which end of the racket do I hold here? So Bobby, what about for you? Like these girls are saying, like, badminton isn't maybe well known outside of Prescott High School. So what, even in Prescott High School, so what's it like for you trying to make sure you got enough girls and quality girls to put together a very competitive and successful team?
So I basically took over this program 11 years ago. And I've never really recruited or gone out and done that. I feel like these kids kind of bring in, their friends, and it's word of mouth, and these guys are really the ones that are bringing in the future of the program. So I've never really had to worry about that so much. It just has a way of working out. You kind of try to build a positive culture and a competitive program, and I feel like if those things are going well, then the kids are happy, and then the kids are happy, and they're having those conversations, and that ultimately is what brings them in. So I feel like it just, it fuels itself.
And well, you said you took over the program 11 years ago, and I guess you were, as a reference point, you were kind of in a Ted Lasso situation where you really didn't know much, if anything, about badminton. You really had to learn on the fly to become an effective coach at badminton, huh?
Yeah, so Carolyn Peters was the coach before me, and they ended up moving to Idaho. And Miss Townsend was the athletic director at the time, and they were obviously trying to fill that position. And I think she just asked me, and I'm like, no way. Like, what? Like, I don't even know anything about badminton. Why would I want to do that? And I think they put it out there, and I think they had like 3 or 4 people put in applications. And they just kept asking, and I'm like, okay, like, because it's like getting close to the season at this point. You know, it's about a month and a half before the season's supposed to start. And I'm like, you know, like, I can help somebody, but like, no, like, I'm not gonna. And they're like, well, just put an application in. So I'm like, okay. And this is Miss Townsend, like, talking me into this. So I'm gonna definitely throw her under the bus here. And so we did the interview, and when I was done with the interview, I walked out of there, and they had given me the job, and I'm just like, oh my God, what did I just get myself into? And so, you know, that month before the season, I mean, it was definitely a crash course in badminton, because my knowledge of badminton before that was basically playing it once or twice in the backyard as a kid. So I'm not one to like take something on and like do it halfway. So I definitely, you know, did my due diligence and tried to learn as much as I could so that I could help those girls, you know, have a successful season. And the one part that was the easy transition for me was just the coaching part of it. You know, I had been a part of basketball and softball programs at Prescott High School prior to that, so all the kids knew me that were a part of that badminton program already. And so that just all kind of helped, you know, came together and helped make that a good year.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, and probably one of the best decisions you ever made, even though at the time you were like, I don't believe I'm doing this.
I know. I still to this point can't believe that that's one of the, I mean, you asked me, you know, 20 years ago, or tell me that I coach badminton, I would have been like, no way, you're like full of it. But now I can't imagine not. You know, it's, again, I've been blessed every year with a great group of kids, and they make it fun and they challenge me, and so it's been good.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that great group of kids, I think it's time we learn a little more about this great group of kids, because, yeah, it's time for lightning round. And this week I was nice, and I told Abby and Ari about lightning round. I didn't spring it on them like a surprise like I've done the past few weeks. Yeah, every once in a while I will decide, you know what, today I'm going to be a nice guy. Now, I'm not making any promises for the following weeks. But anyway, today, I let them know what's going down. So, Abby, I'm starting with you. Who on the Prescott badminton team would you say is the best-dressed player? Who is the team fashion plate?
Me and Ari both definitely agree that it's Lucy. She has some pretty cool outfits. So.
All right, so Lucy Townsend getting the win there. All right, Ari, who would you say is the funniest player on Prescott? Who's the team comedian?
Definitely Claire Long. Every time she says something, I just crack up. So.
Okay, now, Abby, I'm going to go on the opposite end here. Who is the most serious player on Prescott?
I think Ashlyn Reed, watching her play, I can tell she's like very focused and she really gets in the zone. So.
Okay. Ari, who would you say is probably the most talkative player on the team? The player who, if I interviewed him, I'd have to be like, will you hurry it up? I got other places I got to be.
I guess I'd have to say Claire.
Oh.
Or maybe Annabelle.
Mm-hmm.
They both like to talk. So.
Actually, I interviewed them on Tuesday after their match, and yeah, they are very talkative. Okay, Abby, opposite end. Who is the quietest player on Prescott?
I think either Allison or Ari.
Oh. So Bobby, you decide to bring one of the quietest players on the team here on a radio show where we don't like dead air.
Yeah, no, she's done a good job, though.
Yeah, actually, yes. I never would have thought that you were one of the quietest players on the team, Ari, so congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, now, Ari, finishing it off here. What player on Prescott can eat the most in one sitting?
I mean, all of us can eat a lot. We went to Chili's during our tournament, and we all put it away for sure.
Let me guess, after you left, they had to close down the restaurant because they were out of food.
Yeah, basically.
I don't even want to think about what the food budget is for Prescott badminton, Bobby.
Yeah, we try to fundraise just for that purpose alone. So.
A lot of fundraising has to go in there, I would imagine. Oh, man. So anyway, like I said, it has been a really good season for Prescott so far. One of the things that you ladies did a really good job at was you were in a tournament the other week, the Flying Feathers tournament, and you wound up as tournament runners-up. Annabelle, Courtney, and Claire Long, who we were just talking about, they made the all-tournament team. So, Abby, just your thoughts on Prescott's success there at the Flying Feathers tournament.
Honestly, I was kind of surprised because we didn't really know what we were getting into. We've never played any of those schools before. We're not in the same division as them. But I think we really surprised ourselves, honestly, with just kind of how we did and how much work we were putting in.
So what do you think were some of the reasons why Prescott got the tournament runner-up there?
I think we just we go into things and we try and put in our best effort, even if we're not sure what the end result is going to be. We just try our best.
So, Ari, before we went on the air, we were talking about, I asked, what would you say is probably one of the worst gyms you ever played in? And it turned out that it was the gym that you played the Flying Feathers tournament in down at Highland High School. So what was it about that gym that made it so difficult for you?
I mean, the floors were like almost white, and then the lines were very, very light. And so even when I would go up to serve, I'd have to focus my eyes to see where the service line was, and it was really tough, and it was hard to make calls because you couldn't tell if it was on the line or if it was out. And yeah, that was definitely the toughest gym to play in.
Basically a big pain. But Bobby, you were saying that despite all of that you went through at Highland Prep, for these girls to overcome that and get a tournament runner-up finish is pretty darn impressive.
Yeah, so everybody we played, there were 16 teams at this tournament, and 4 of them were Division II. All the rest were Division I. And almost all of the teams we played are very good programs. We were able to play Sunny Slope and Westwood, Xavier, Desert, Vista, and then for the championship, Hamilton. And those are all just elite level Division I, programs, and nothing but respect for those coaches and those programs, and to see our girls go in with tough court conditions. It's a beautiful gym and the floor is fine, but it's just the lines blending with the color of the floor definitely made things a little difficult. But we had the luxury of playing on the same 2 courts pretty much for all of our matches, and then except for the championship, we were on all 6 courts in that main gym. And so I felt like that allowed them to get a little comfortable, even though it was still hard to, they just had to really focus on making sure they were paying attention to whether things were in or out, and just being very intentional with that. And the level of competition. I mean, it was just a battle all the way around. And, again, I think they're really taking me seriously on making sure that we're putting in the effort, we're having a good attitude, and that we're showing good sportsmanship, and we're respecting the game and playing it the way it was meant to be played, and not focusing so much on the wins and losses. I mean, I really didn't care what that was at the end of that tournament. We were there to face good teams and to get better. And it just has a way of working out, when they buy in. So
yeah, definitely worked out there. And I'm sure all of that, all those lessons you learned in the Flying Feathers are going to benefit you ladies next week, because Abby, you got a busy schedule coming up next week. Let's see. Monday, you're at Desert Mountain. Tuesday, you host North Canyon. Thursday, you're at Paradise Valley. Then next Saturday, you're at Westwood High School for the annual Birdie Blitz. So what are going to be some of the keys to getting through a really, really busy week like that, where you're going to have to spend a ton of time on the bus?
I think just having the same effort that we normally put into games, and just trying to do our best, even if we feel tired, just having that motivation to keep going. And we love the Westwood tournament, so I don't think that one's going to be a problem. I think we're going to go into that with lots of energy. So
okay. And of course, Ari, the other thing is, along with athletes, you're also students. You got to keep up with your schoolwork. Kind of tough when you got 3 road trips coming up next week. So how many times do you do your homework on the bus going there and back?
Oh my goodness. Well,
A lot, I guess.
yeah, not so much this year, but sophomore year, I would have to do it all, and it was really hard to write. And just every single time I would be doing homework. But this time I think I'll just be reading. So.
Well, then you're lucky because apparently you don't get motion sickness like I do when I try to read or write in a moving vehicle. So good on you. All right. Well, actually, folks, we're coming up to the end of the show here. I want to thank Coach Bobby Yoder from the Prescott badminton team for joining us, along with her players, Abby Daniels, Ari Jones. Ladies, thank you very much for joining us here on the show, and best of luck the rest of the way on your season.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, John. We appreciate the coverage and everything that you do for these girls over the last few years.
You are quite welcome for that, Coach. Quite welcome. All right, folks, remember, next Friday we are on the road at Kingman. We're going to be taking on Lee Williams for football, 6:45 for the pregame show, 7 o'clock for kickoff. Whether or not we will have any paranormal experiences there, who knows? We haven't had so far, but who knows? Maybe we'll get lucky Friday? Is that the right word? I don't know. Also over on our sports station today, ASU versus Texas State, 6:30 p.m. on the Team 1450 AM KNOT today. All right, folks, that's going to do it for our show. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again next week.